Friday the 13th, 1980. In this iconic horror classic, the tranquil Camp Crystal Lake transforms into a nightmarish scene of terror as a group of unsuspecting counselors, portrayed by a cast including Adrienne King, Kevin Bacon, and Betsy Palmer, gather for the reopening of the long-abandoned summer camp. As the moon rises on Friday the 13th, the ominous atmosphere thickens, and the ensemble cast, featuring Harry Crosby, Laurie Bartram, and Ari Lehman as the young Jason Voorhees, sets the stage for a spine-chilling tale of suspense. Watch as the cast led by the talented Adrienne King navigates through the darkness, desperately trying to escape the clutches of an unseen menace. This film, directed by Sean S. Cunningham, remains a cornerstone of the horror genre, leaving an indelible mark on the slasher film landscape. Friday the 13th, Part 2, 1981. As the ominous legacy of Camp Crystal Lake persists, a new group of counselors, played by a talented ensemble including Amy Steele, John Fury, and Adrienne King, descends upon the area. Directed by Steve Miner, this chilling sequel unveils the dark secrets surrounding Jason Voorhees, portrayed by Warrington Gillette and Steve Daskowich, as he rises from the shadows to exact revenge on those who dare to venture into the cursed campground. With suspense building around every corner, the cast, also featuring Kirsten Baker, Bill Randolph, and Marta Kober, must confront the masked killer in a race against time to survive the horrors of Friday the 13th. Brace yourself for another night of relentless terror in this classic slasher film that solidifies Jason's reign of fear. So is Friday the 13th, Part 3, 1982. In this spine-chilling installment, the horrors of Camp Crystal Lake take a gruesome turn as Jason Voorhees, played by Richard Brooker, continues his blood-soaked rampage. As a group of unsuspecting friends, portrayed by a talented ensemble including Dana Kimmel, Paul Kratka, and Larry Zerner, seeks refuge in a lakeside cabin, they become unwitting targets of the masked killer's insatiable thirst for vengeance. Directed by Steve Miner, this 3D-enhanced horror experience plunges audiences into a night of terror, with performances by Catherine Parks, Kevin O'Brien, and Tracy Savage, as they desperately fight for survival against the relentless force that is Jason Voorhees. Prepare for a new dimension of fear on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, the final chapter, 1984. In what was believed to be the concluding chapter of the terror-filled saga, Jason Voorhees, portrayed menacingly by Ted White, returns to wreak havoc on unsuspecting victims in and around Crystal Lake. Directed by Joseph Zito, this installment introduces a group of vacationers featuring Kimberly Beck, Corey Feldman, and Crispin Glover, whose weekend getaway turns into a nightmare as the hockey-masked killer resumes his relentless killing spree. As the body count rises, the cast, which also includes Eric Anderson, Barbara Howard, and Peter Barton, must confront the seemingly indestructible force that is Jason in a desperate bid for survival. Brace yourself for shocks, surprises, and an unforgettable climax in this supposed final showdown on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th. A New Beginning, 1985. In the aftermath of Jason Voorhees' supposed demise, a new threat emerges in the form of a copycat killer, creating a fresh wave of terror. Directed by Danny Steinman, this installment introduces a cast featuring John Shepard as Tommy Jarvis, a haunted survivor, alongside Melanie Kinnaman, Shavar Ross, and Richard Young. As a group of troubled residents at a mental health facility becomes the target of the mysterious murderer, the line between reality and nightmare blurs. With suspenseful performances by Dominic Brassia, Tiffany Helm, and John Robert Dixon, the film challenges perceptions and delivers unexpected twists, keeping the legacy of Crystal Lake alive and bloodier than ever on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, Part 6. Jason Lives, 1986. Resurrected from the grave, Jason Voorhees, portrayed by C.J. Graham, returns with a vengeance in this electrifying installment directed by Tom McLaughlin. As the cursed Camp Crystal Lake faces the wrath of the undead killer, a relentless battle for survival ensues. Starring Tom Matthews as the determined Tommy Jarvis, joined by a cast including Jennifer Cook, David Kagan, and Renee Jones, the film takes audiences on a roller coaster of terror and suspense. With dark humor and creative kills, this chapter introduces a dynamic ensemble that includes Darcy DeMoss, Tom Fridley, and Tony Goldwyn, as they face the unstoppable force of Jason, on his quest for blood. Get ready for a thrilling resurrection of horror on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, Part 7. The New Blood, 1988. In this electrifying chapter, the infamous Crystal Lake becomes the battleground for a supernatural showdown as Jason Voorhees, portrayed by Kane Hodder, faces off against a telekinetic force. Directed by John Carl Buechler, the film introduces a cast featuring Lar Park Lincoln as the telekinetic Tina Shepard, whose latent powers unwittingly awaken the masked killer. Joined by a group of terrified friends, portrayed by Kevin Blair, Susan Blue, and Terry Kaiser, they must confront the unstoppable force that is Jason in a deadly game of cat and mouse. As the body count rises, the cast, which includes Heidi Kozak, Jeff Bennett, and Diana Barrows, experiences a night of terror like never before. Brace yourself for a new dimension of horror on Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, Part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan, 1989. In this gripping installment, Jason Voorhees, portrayed by the formidable Kane Hodder, embarks on a grisly journey beyond the confines of Crystal Lake. Directed by Rob Hedden, the film follows a group of high school graduates, led by Jensen Daggett and Scott Reeves, as they unknowingly bring the hockey-masked menace aboard a cruise ship bound for Manhattan. As the iconic killer carves a path of destruction, the cast, including Peter Mark Richmond, Barbara Bingham, and V.C. Dupree, must navigate the urban jungle of New York City to escape the relentless pursuit of Jason. Brace yourself for a thrilling and deadly voyage on Friday the 13th. Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, 1993. In this heart-stopping installment, the legacy of Jason Voorhees takes a terrifying turn as the malevolent force finds a new way to spread chaos. Directed by Adam Marcus, the film introduces a cast led by John D. LeMay as Stephen Freeman and Carrie Keegan as Jessica Kimball. As the demonic essence of Jason jumps from victim to victim, the cast, which includes Stephen Williams, Stephen Culp, and Aaron Gray, must unravel the dark mystery behind the Voorhees curse. With relentless suspense and unexpected twists, this chapter in the Friday the 13th saga explores new depths of horror, pushing the boundaries of fear to the limits. Prepare for a descent into the heart of darkness on what may be the final Friday. Jason X 2001. In this futuristic nightmare, Jason Voorhees, portrayed by the relentless Kane Hodder, is cryogenically frozen and unleashed centuries later on a spaceship. Directed by James Isaac, the film introduces a cast led by Lexa Doig as Rowan LaFontaine and Lisa Ryder as KM-14. As the unstoppable killer resumes his blood-soaked spree in the high-tech confines of the spacecraft, the ensemble, including Peter Mensa, Melissa Adie, and Jonathan Potts, faces a battle for survival in the cold, unforgiving reaches of space. Brace yourself for a sci-fi twist on the classic horror icon as Friday the 13th ventures into uncharted territory. Freddy vs. Jason, 2003. In this epic crossover of nightmares, the dreamstalker Freddy Krueger, played by the iconic Robert Englund, manipulates the machete-wielding Jason Voorhees, portrayed by the formidable Ken Kirzinger, into a gruesome battle. Directed by Ronnie Yu, the film weaves a tale of terror as the two legendary horror icons clash in a battle for supremacy. The cast includes Monica Keena as Laurie Campbell, Jason Ritter as Will Rollins, and Kelly Rowland as Kia Watterson, as they become pawns in the deadly game between these titans of horror. Brace yourself for a showdown of monstrous proportions where nightmares collide on the blood-soaked battleground of Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street. Friday the 13th, 2009. In this chilling reboot, a group of unsuspecting young adults played by rising stars including Jared Padalecki, Amanda Righetti, and Travis Van Winkle embarks on a weekend getaway to the infamous Crystal Lake. Unaware of the gruesome history that shrouds the area, their idyllic retreat takes a terrifying turn when the legendary killer Jason Voorhees, portrayed by the formidable Derek Mears, returns to claim his territory. As the body count rises, the ensemble cast, featuring Danielle Panabaker, Aaron Yu, and Derek Mears, must confront the relentless and brutal force that is Jason in a desperate fight for survival. Brace yourself for a fresh take on a horror classic, with this talented cast delivering nail-biting suspense and heart-pounding thrills in every scene. The Friday the 13th movie franchise, launched in 1980, has left an indelible mark on horror cinema. Revered for popularizing the slasher genre, it set a precedent for masked killers preying on unsuspecting victims. Jason Voorhees, with his iconic hockey mask, became a cultural symbol of fear. The franchise's success paved the way for numerous sequels, influencing the trajectory of horror storytelling and contributing to the genre's evolution. The blend of suspense, gore, and a relentless antagonist has become a template for many subsequent horror films, solidifying Friday the 13th as a cornerstone in the history of cinematic frights.